Hello and welcome to Talk of the Town. My name is Andrew Botieri. I'll be your host this evening. Karen Bukes will be back in about 2 weeks, and I know that she's probably at home right now with her script and red pen, making a lot of line-throughs of what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Today is our 361 show, and today is October 29th, 2014. And we're going to have a great show today. But before we get started, I do want to talk about our underwriters who make this show possible on a weekly basis. Stowell's Cafe in Manomet, Evolution Salon, also Brewster PC Solutions with Wrestling Brewster, and I'm sure wrestling's watching, so hello, wrestling. Attorneys Trifoletti and Coster on Long Pond Road in Plymouth. And also additional underwriters are David and Kevin Gallerani of Cape Auto Body and Service, with locations on Samoset and Sandwich Streets right here in America's hometown of Plymouth, Massachusetts. Before I do get started and introduce our guest, I do want to talk about a program that we've got coming up on November 1st, 2014 at 8:30 a.m. Please join us for the Fresh Pond Connector Cleanup. This is going to be to help get the connector of the Fresh Pond opened up for herring and finally get the herring running. Come and meet two fantastic advocates of the Tide Marsh Farms Restoration, Eric Hutchins, marine biologist, and Noah and Alex Hackman, restoration specialist at Mass Department of Fish and Game Division of Ecological Restoration and project manager for the project itself. This will be a fun community event. Put on your waders, which we're going to be supplying, and walk the connector and get inside scoop on what will be happening in the Tide Marsh. And again, that is Saturday, November 1st at 8:30, and the meeting point will be the bridge at Bartlett Road. And again, as I mentioned, that we will have waiters provided. Any additional information, you can dial 508-224-7720. So, we got that done, and now we are going to be getting into our program. Again, my name is Andrew Botieri. For those who don't know me, I live here in Plymouth. I've been on this show many times, and I'm also one of the fill-ins for the Three Amigos. So today is going to be a little bit different of a program. I'm very excited this evening to be interviewing somebody that I've known since high school, which I don't know if that makes me old or what it does. But anyways, it's Plymouth Selectman Matt Muratore, who is candidate for State Senate. And so we're going to be talking to Matt for the next hour. And I know that Ken will be flashing up the number, so if you would like to call in at some point tonight, usually they have the phone number here, and I don't, oh, here we go, 508-830-3971. So please, if you have any questions for Matt regarding Plymouth or regarding the his candidacy for state rep, please feel free to call in. Makes the program that much better. Again, this is your program every Wednesday, so we do like to have people participate. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to my right, Matt Muratore.
Hey, pleasure, Andrew. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you as well. So must be nice to kind of just sit and relax for a minute with all the whirlwind that you've been doing between selectmen and running for office.
Yeah, it actually is. That's good, sitting here with you. And like you said, we go back to high school. You are older. Just want to make that clear to people watching at home. You are older than I am. Actually used to babysit me at that time.
Don't go that far.
Not that much older.
Yeah. Well, again, it's really important that, one of the things that we really want to focus on today is, really about Plymouth itself, because obviously, you're still in as selectman, and I know that there's a lot of things that you guys have been working on. I know actually with over the last month or two, there's just been debate after debate after debate with yourself and even with Vinny deMacedo, but also in the last couple of weeks with the gubernatorial candidates, with Charlie Baker and the Attorney General, as well as other local races that are being run as well. And it's kind of interesting. And watching some of these things, it's always the major network TVs up in the Boston area who, for some reason, find it important to ask a candidate what their favorite color or favorite ice cream is. We're not going to get into that today, unless you really feel impelled to tell everybody that. But
I'll tell you, WATD, we had the debate there. I mean, there was questions asked like that. What's the recent book you've read lately, and what's your favorite movie you've gone to lately? I said, what? I said, I haven't been able to go to read a book or go to a movie at all.
And I got a little tribe. I got 6 kids. I can take that to a movie.
Exactly.
But Matt is just an incredible guy, a father, a public servant, a great husband, and in less than a week now, the people of Plymouth are going to go to the polls Again, this is a very, very important election. This is one that really is going to shape the direction of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts so that we can, in my opinion, get this the economy started again and whatnot. But what I'd like to do, Matt, is sort of start a little bit, kind of talk about the family a little bit. I know that I've worked with your wife in the past as well. But so I'm going to ask you some things about you and the family as well. But now, where are you originally from, and where'd you grow up?
Well, I actually was born in Caribou, Maine.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of an interesting story. My entire family, my brothers, I have 3 brothers, my parents, my cousins, uncles, aunt, everyone was born in Massachusetts. I was the only one born out of state. My father used to be a radio disc jockey in Brockton at BET.
I remember that.
Yeah, he went under the name of Mike Mason. And in the late 50s, he got promoted to a station in Caribou, Maine, to be an AM disc jockey at WFST. And so I think he was up there for 6 years, and I was born up there. I do have a vivid memory of picking potatoes at the age of 3 in the potato farm.
So was that like classified your first job?
Exactly, yeah. And the snow banks up to the street signs. And but my brothers, I have a couple of older brothers, so they remember a lot more and tell me stories about that. But then we moved back to Brockton. He went back to WBET back in the mid '60s, and then quickly moved to Whitman. Lived in Whitman for about 6-7 years, and then I was about 12 years old. Moved to Rockland and lived there for most of 20-25 years in Rockland before I moved to Plymouth.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's in Rockland, that was really my roots. Where I got to meet, a lot of, I have lifelong friends right now that I'm still friends with, like Tommy Marble and people like that. Yeah. And went to St. Bridget's in Abington, and then went to Cardinal Spellman, where we met. Yeah, and graduated from there, and then went to Northeastern University and got my business degree in business management, and did a co-op program at the Gillette Company.
Wow.
In the 80s. I was fortunate enough to get a job through Tommy Marble's father, senior, and he worked there for a number of years and worked in the international division there and got some business experience. And all along, I still stayed involved in nursing homes because my first real job was when I was 16 in 1977 at a Del Manor nursing home in Rockland. I was a dishwasher. And that's how I started getting involved in nursing homes. And I really enjoyed working with elderly people. So throughout the 80s, working at Gillette, I still worked at the nursing home and still did odd jobs at the nursing home throughout that time. And then I finally decided, in 1989, that I want to make a change. I want to go back in the nursing home full time. I want to be a nursing home administrator. So I took a pretty large pay cut at those days to train, because you had to train for almost a year to be an administrator in a nursing home, and then you have to be licensed by the Commonwealth. So, but I was fortunate enough to get my license in the early part of 1991 as a nursing home administrator, and have been one ever since.
Wow, great. Just a connection with Rockland. My mother's family was originally from Rockland, the Richardsons. Oh yeah. And she was a cheerleader for Rockland High.
Is that right?
Yeah, she used to. She up until she passed away this past June, but even about a year ago, she'd be able to still recite the cheer that they used to do for Rockland High, the Bulldogs. Isn't that funny? That's wild. Yeah. Well, you mentioned Spellman, and I know that I've had a very blessed life and a very blessed career, and I really look back at Spellman as really being sort of that juggernaut, if you will, that really put me in position to excel and to really exceed in life. And I think, again, it was a lot of the teachings there, the Catholic teachings, but the discipline, the education. What did you get out of Spellman?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the life lessons that you learn. Because everyone learns, math, English, social studies, all you learn in different ways. But it's the life lessons that you learn: the discipline, the respect, the hard work. I think I credit that all to my Catholic upbringing at St. Bridget's, starting out at St. Bridget's, and then at Cardinal Spellman. I had some some great teachers, some lay teachers, some nuns, and the nuns I remember the most are the most strict ones, but didn't like them at the time, but really respected what they actually did and how and what they taught me, that helped me through life. So it was probably the best education I ever had.
I remember my freshman year in study class, Sister deMacedo. And a couple guys up in the front of the class were talking, and she took the ruler out and made them lay their hand flat on the desk, and not flat-wise, on the corner, and smacked their knuckles. And I sat back in that room and I go, now I know how the rules here. Now I know how to play this game.
You got it.
And I behaved myself for all 4 years.
Sister Eureka, our English
She was,
teacher.
yeah.
Same thing. Yep.
Yeah.
You learn once. That's it.
Well, I'm sure with your full-time job and also being a selectman, obviously, that is very, a lot of hours, a lot of trying times, and just always on the go. Now you're adding and running for candidate for state rep. Obviously, it takes a lot of family support. Talk about your lovely bride, Kristen, and also your, I call them the tribe, your 6 daughters.
Yeah. Well, Kristen and I met back in the early 90s, mid 90s, and she was an incredible person. She came from a not so wealthy of a family. Her father was disabled, and so her mother was really the strength of that family. And there was 4 of them, 4 young ones, and but she worked hard, and she put herself through school.
Wow.
Still paying student loans. She obviously she became a lawyer.
Yep.
And she's just she's like, if anybody asks who your heroes are, she's like a hero to me because of what she's done. How she has how she carries herself, as you know.
Yes.
But really where she came from and where she's gone. And it's an incredible story that she's very modest about this stuff and doesn't like to talk about it.
That's why I figured I'd have to bring it up because
but she's incredible, and she's my strength, and what she does with all the kids and manages the household. It's amazing. But with this journey here, and with any journey we've done, we've always done it together. Even running for selectman, we talked about it, the pros and cons of it, and finally decided, let's do it, and she's part of that. Same with the state rep. I mean, we started talking about this when the rumors started coming out last year that Terry Murray was probably not going to run again, and that Vinny was probably going to run for her seat. It came clear that the state rep job, will probably be open. And of course, being a Republican and being on the Republican Town Committee, I had a lot of people coming to me and say, you should think about this. And so I talked to a number of people, and Kristen did as well. And we did our homework on it, and it took us 3 or 4 months before we finally came to the conclusion. Let's do this, and let's do this together. And we did that earlier this year. We finally decided to do that, and decided to do that. And it's something that when we do something, when I do something, it's we're fully committed to it. It's not something that that you can do half-heartedly, and I'm very competitive, and I think I get that from the Spellman days as well.
Exactly.
It's all about competition at that point, and you want to be the best. And so we knew what we were in for, but we decided, let's do it, and let's do it together. And we have the kids involved sometimes. They do standouts with us as well.
Yeah, I've seen them on a couple events.
And we do it as a family. And I'll tell you, I don't regret any minute of this campaign and how it's been run. Got some great people behind the scenes that are real great strategists. Some people we talked about off the air that just really know how to put a campaign together and know how to market. And that's what this is all about marketing me as a candidate. And but Chris is part of that strategic team. Anytime we have a conference call or a meeting, she's always there giving her advice, and she's my most trusted ally, and I rely on that.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I know that you running for office, you're always in the limelight, and I know that even though you are competitive, having known you over the years, you've still got a little bit of a modest side to you as well. Kristen may doubt that, but I know a little bit. But I did want to give a shout out to one of the tribe, Emma, who I did see. She won the Little Miss. Was it Personality at the 2014 Presidential Volunteer Service Award dinner. So, Emma, if you're watching, which I'm sure you are, congratulations, great job. Don't show your dad up, though. We got to be careful about that, that's for sure.
Yeah, we had it was through the Mayflower RSVP, the retirement group.
They're a great group.
It's a great group, and a great group of volunteers, and they had I think 25 pocketbooks, and her role was to sell all these pocketbooks, and she did it within 15 minutes.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Well, when I first moved back here, I actually joined the RSVP and was a reading tutor at Nathaniel Morton for second graders.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I tell you, it's volunteer work, and I've talked about this with Three Amigos and also with Ken and Karen that I think there's nothing that really defines an individual than their ability to give back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously with public service, with you and Vinny and all the other candidates, it is quite an undertaking.
It is, but you have to, and I got that at a young age as well. I mean, the first organization I belonged to when I was 18 was the Knights of Columbus.
Yep.
I still belong, and but it was all about service to the community and giving back to the community, and it's something that Krista and I always do. Matter of fact, she's on the Mayflower RSVP board.
Oh, okay.
She's on the Friends of the Council on Aging board. So we're always trying to teach the kids that it's we've worked hard for what we have, and we're fortunate for what we have. You can't never take that for granted, but always work to help others as well.
Yeah.
And we try to teach that to our kids, and you can only do it by showing them, by leading by example, and that's what we do.
And I think also, again, from Spellman, I think we got a lot of that, the volunteering that we used to do, going out into the community and helping those that were less fortunate than we are.
Yeah.
So let's get into this a little about your business stuff. And again, you've worked hard in the healthcare field. With everything going on, especially with again during the debates, we saw what the Health Connector website that was running fine at one point. Now it's going to cost over $600 million to fix it. And just not just that as an example, but just the whole healthcare, the rising costs. What, with your knowledge, being in the healthcare field, what can you bring to Beacon Hill?
Well, I think probably being one of the only healthcare people on Beacon Hill, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, I can bring a perspective that comes from somebody working in the trenches all these years, especially on the elder care side, which is, I believe, the Medicaid budget is probably almost a half of the entire state budget.
Wow.
And Medicaid is a big portion of long-term care nursing homes. And I always believe in working with others and try to brainstorm with others to try to get the best solutions. But I think you need to take a look at the healthcare budget, which is, again, a large portion of the state budget, and figure out, are we spending the dollars in the right area or not? And one of the things I've been talking about on the campaign trail is about mental health. And that it's an area of that we don't talk about a lot, but that if we could start talking about it and start dealing with it, then I think we can solve a lot of issues. And it's not adding more dollars, but it's taking the dollars that are already there and redistributing them. That's one way. I think, and I'm happy to say that Jordan Hospital just got a BID Plymouth.
Yes. Yeah.
Just got a $3.7 million grant from the state, one of the largest, and it's all about family behavioral health, and they're going to be starting that here in Plymouth. So it's good to see that it's really starting to resonate with people, and I think by having these discussions, maybe putting together a commission that can study the healthcare, the cost of healthcare, and what we're doing, and how we can streamline it some more, I think would make some sense. Part of being in the nursing home and being in this community, we've been part of what's called an accountable care organization, called an ACO, and it started a couple of years ago with the hospital and with several hospitals in Massachusetts, but. What happens is you're following the patient from the hospital to, maybe to a rehab facility like ours, or they're going to home health, or they're going back to the doctors. And what we're trying to do is trying to keep them through a continuum of care so that there's not a lot of duplications going on. There's not a lot of unnecessary medications that are given to them, that we're trying to keep them out of the hospital. The worst place you can be, and Peter Holden will say this as the president of the hospital, is in a hospital. So whatever you can do to stay out of the hospital makes a lot more sense. Staying out of the emergency room makes a lot of sense. So by creating a more healthier community as well, and by helping people change behaviors of how they eat and not smoking and exercising and that type of stuff. I mean, that helps with the healthcare dollars over time as well. But we also need to work with the insurance companies as well to try to control costs, and there's ways to actually do that.
And with this $3.7 million that now has been given over to Jordan or
BID Plymouth.
They're all changing all the time. Is this the first significant funding statewide for mental health?
It is. Yeah, it really is.
I mean, that's amazing.
It's huge, and I give credit to Peter Holden and the president and the staff at the hospital. They've been seeing this for a while, and they see it causes a lot of social issues that occur from mental illness, and it costs the healthcare system dollars. But by not treating mental health, and let me tell you, mental health is a disease just like cancer.
Yeah.
30 years ago, people didn't want to talk about cancer. They called it the C word. Well, this is the same as this, but it's a disease like that, and people can live with it, okay. But we don't have treatment centers. We don't have I think the state only has like 100 psychiatrists in the whole state. So we don't have the proper folks to actually deal with it. What this will allow is to have a family practitioner, psychologist in primary care physicians' offices, so that you can actually deal with it. Primary care physicians, you know, they don't know how to deal with mental health issues.
No.
They know how to deal with your body, but not so much your mind in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So if you had somebody like a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a practitioner that deals with mental health, behavioral health, then they can actually deal with that part of the practice and help the person, whether it's getting on the right meds or whatever is needed.
Well, one thing that you just mentioned, that there's not a lot of people that are working in the mental health field, mainly because there really hasn't been the funding for it. One thing maybe when you do get up to Beacon Hill is to maybe make some initiatives where we can get some of these people who are going into medical school, and maybe through some incentives, maybe through some tuition breaks, maybe getting them into this field, because it just seems that it's growing and growing and growing.
Absolutely.
My dad passed. It'll be 5 years ago next Wednesday of Alzheimer's, and and he went quick, which I think was a blessing, because I know some parents or friends of mine whose parents have been in there for 7, 8, 10 years. But I'm also now starting to read where people, 53 years old. I mean, I'm 55 that are getting it. So if there's people who can help with that, whether it's Alzheimer's, mental illness, and focusing on that, I think it might, maybe Massachusetts could really be sort of the litmus test, if you will, for that.
Absolutely.
So that's great. So that's why we need to get you
every
there.
time I go out to an event while I'm in campaign, and I'll talk about, as you brought up earlier, about the economic development, creating jobs for people. I talk about that. I talk about education, how education is important, and helping people, kids with college, to pay for that. And I talk about mental illness, and every single time I'll have 2, 3, or 4 people come up to me at the end of that, and they'll talk about mental illness. Say, "Thank you for talking about that. I have mental illness, or I know somebody. My sister does, my daughter does, my son does."
Wow.
So it's resonating with people the more you talk about it, and it's okay to talk about it. There's no stigma behind it.
Well, it's like when I first, when I met Ken and Karen, and I wrote my book on scleroderma, Celebration of Life, back 14 years ago when I first got it, I'd be in an audience speaking, doing one of my public speaking gigs, and I'd mention scleroderma. I said, has anyone ever heard of it? And you might have maybe one hand out of, 100 to 200 people. Now when I do it, I probably have at least 25 to 35% of the room raise their hand, because now it's starting to get more acknowledgement. And I think, especially with mental illness, and we're seeing, just last week another school shooting, and I mean just the school shootings we've had, that we've got to be able to attack it before it becomes the next tragedy. I think
and there shouldn't be you talk about the school shooting, there shouldn't be a stigma attached to that. I mean, there must have been signs for that kid. It's just not somebody that's normal is not going to just go do that. So there had to be some signs, and mental illness. It could be an anxiety disorder of some sort. It doesn't mean you have to be schizophrenia. It's not. There's there are a lot of categories under mental illness, and it affects everyone: rich, poor, middle class. I mean, it's everyone that it affects. So it doesn't discriminate. But if we don't deal with it, this is the type of things that happen.
I had a very good friend of mine that I grew up with in Hanson, played baseball with, and he just had a chemical imbalance from a thyroid condition.
There you go.
And committed suicide. One of the saddest things.
That happens. Exactly. And that's sometimes all it is. Your brain it's such a fragile thing. And I'm glad they're talking about concussions in football and things like that.
Huge.
Because we're starting to learn that even if I bang my head on this desk, I could get a concussion. I may not pass out, but I could get a concussion because your brain is that fragile, and you don't know what could happen, a few months or a year or two down the line that's going to make you that chemical imbalance that you have. And it's simple things like that. People in car accidents. You see, months later, all of a sudden they start going wild, and you don't know erratic behavior and all that, and you don't understand why. But people can get brain seizures from that.
And it's great that they're not only focusing on it in the pros, but even bringing it down now to the high school level, and even down into the Pop Warner as well. You were mentioning about some of the signs, when like with the school shooting last week, and unfortunately we're finding out that in a lot of these cases, their feelings or their inner darkness is actually coming out in a lot of their Facebook postings, but yet people see it and they look the other way.
Right.
It's like now with after what happened with Ray Rice in football, with the domestic abuse, now you're seeing commercials on TV by football or by athletes saying that don't make excuses for this. You got to you got to stop.
Right.
And maybe with mental illness it'll get to that point as well. But obviously, like you said, it takes funding. And when we're I just was listening on a national level to where we just our federal government spent a little over $300,000 to monitor shrimp on a treadmill.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And just it's amazing the billions of dollars that are wasted on stuff that why monkeys like thin monkeys versus fat monkeys. I mean, really?
I know.
Yet we've got all these other problems in the country, and bring that down even to a state level. Those are going to be some of the challenges.
But the media has skin in this game as well, because when they report these things, it's sensational type stuff. Okay, so when you have the gentleman that killed his mother, I think it was Winchester a week or two ago.
Yeah,
And they just caught him. They just brought him in, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, I did it," and sometimes I just go off, But that's the first that struck me when this guy said it, and you could tell he's not all with it. He's got some mental illness.
Yeah.
Somebody must have seen that.
Yeah.
But when you hear about these shootings, the media doesn't report that. Oh, he probably he had some mental illness or he had something. They don't say it. But you have to have some sort of mental illness if you're going to go into a school and shoot up a school, or if you're going to go in and go shoot your mother. Yeah. I mean, you've got to have something. There are signs, so we need to start talking about that. Why did he do that? What sort of mental illness? And then backtrack and say, okay, how do we fail this person, and what can we do better for the next person so it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, that's great. Well, we do have a caller in. We have the esteemed current state rep for the Plymouth and the Barnstable area, Mr. Vinny deMacedo, who's on the line, who's actually running for a state senate. So are you there, Vinny?
Hey, yes I am. How you guys doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Well, knowing that Matt is running for your position, any words of advice you can give this young man over here about the state legislature, how it operates, and again, I know he's got some big shoes to fill. What are you, about a 10 and a half?
Exactly. That's about it.
That's what mine is too. Mine's an 11.
No, and I've shared this with Matt in the past, but I think it's always important about building relationships and just getting to politics is about people. I've said that 1,000 times, but it's about working in the legislature, meeting people, building relationships, because those relationships that you build are the relationships that are going to enable you to be more effective for your community.
And what is, obviously there's a little bit of a discrepancy on both sides of the aisle. And I think, Vinny, your words ring true, because it does take, unlike at our federal level, it does take working together. And I know that, from even talking to some of the Democrats who have worked with you in the past, that, that's one thing that they really say about you is that, you do work the aisle. You do work the other side of the aisle. And that's so important in getting stuff done, in the Commonwealth, because of all the challenges that we have going on.
Well, and that's frankly what I like about Matt, because I know Matt, and I know how he has been as a selectman in the community, and I think most people in the town of Plymouth don't look at Terry Murray or myself or Matt as Republican or Democrat. They look at us as public servants that are out there working on behalf of the community to do the best for them. And so I think that's why we all have support. I think we're Republicans before we're before Republicans and Democrats. And my experience with Matt is he fits that mold. That's the type of person that he is, and that's why I really believe he's going to be successful.
Thank you, Vinny. While Vinny's on, I want to say this too. I mean, as I've been campaigning over the last 6 months, I've been meeting people from outside the district, and people are envious of what's happened in Plymouth, and it's because of Vinny and Terry and Tom Coulter, how they work together. And it strikes me as funny because they say this doesn't happen in other parts of the state. You don't have Democrats and Republicans that work together in other parts like they do in the Plymouth area. We take it for granted. But it's a tribute to Vinny and to the rest of them of how they work together, as he said, working for the best interests of Plymouth. Yeah. So they've been able to figure it out.
I'll say this is, and I think that's what's been helpful. And I think, both the Senate President, myself, and Coulter, it's not about who's going to take credit for what. Right. It's, hey, we just do it as a team, you do it as a delegation, and it really doesn't matter who takes credit. It matters that it gets done. And, that's just always been my philosophy. I've been very fortunate the Senate President feels the same way. And you work as a team. It doesn't, there are so many people in politics. They're so interested in getting their name in the paper, and they did this and they did that. And the beauty is that for the delegation, we have really worked to just to say, hey, listen, let's work together. Let's put the community first. And I think that it's a successful model. And so I'm very confident. Matt, in my my experience with you as your time. Well, obviously, you've been working with you before when you were working and doing stuff with the Council on Aging. Just being a team player, helping people, any chance you get, and that's what this job's about.
Well, I think, Vinny, you just defined what really true public servant or service is. It's not about ego. It's not about, I want my name in the paper, but it's knowing that when you go to bed at night that you can say that, you've made a difference in the lives of the people that you're responsible for, which are your constituents. And I've always admired that about you. You've got a great success story. And I know that the two of you have an event on, is it Tuesday night?
We do.
We do Tuesday night at the Radisson. We're going to have our final event at the Radisson. It's the end of a very long election cycle, and so we certainly would like to invite the listeners. If they would like to join us, we would love to have them. Regardless of what the results are, we're just thankful. There's so many people who have helped both of us in our campaigns. It's just. And of course, Andrew, you've been there for me many, many times over the years, helping me out in so many different times. Different. Even though you're not going to be there this time, actually.
I know, I'm bummed.
But it's so nice to be able to thank those people that have helped you. Obviously, we're hoping for victories, but regardless, we just want to say thank you to the people who helped us out.
Right. Well, I know both you and Matt. Even though it is Wednesday night, the 29th. I know that you guys, both of you, are going to be working up until the very last minute. Because I know that both of you have such a wealth of knowledge, of experience, and really that can-do attitude that we need. I mean. Regardless of, what we hear that, the state's fine, it's not broke, it doesn't need any fixing. Well, it does. And it's going to be, guys like you, women like Karen Polito and Charlie Baker, and even others on the other side of the aisle, too, that really are in this to get this state and this Commonwealth back to where it used to be, which was the envy, of the United States. When I lived out on the West Coast, a lot of great things always came out of Massachusetts. So, Vinny, I appreciate. Do you have any last words of wisdom for this young man over here?
No, I just from my experience, I started, 16 years ago, and I didn't, I had a learning curve because I had not been involved in local politics like Matt. I was a town meeting member, and just for a short time, Matt had the privilege of working at the Council on Aging for quite some time. He's also been a selectman for 4 years. He understands how the town, how towns operate, what happens there, and I think that that's going to be an incredible advantage, that he's going to be able to hit the ground running. I think he did well, but I know that I had a lot to learn, and I just think Matt's going to be in a much better position even than I was starting 16 years ago, with the understanding that he has. And, oftentimes, the challenges that we see up on Beacon Hill is that the local communities, and I'm always an advocate for this, is making sure we get the money back to the local level, where it's best spent more efficiently and effectively. And that's been an argument that I've made for quite some time. Matt's going to get that right away, and he's going to bring that perspective of being a selectman, a small business owner, and I think that that's just a wealth of knowledge. As I said, I was a small business owner, but I didn't have the town, the selectman experience. So, Matt, I wish you the best.
Thank you, my friend.
You've been working hard, and you've got still another crazy 5 or 6 days left. It can't be like crazy, but I know you'll do it.
Yeah.
Well,
thank
Vinny,
you, my friend.
We want to thank you, and again, God's blessings to you as well. You are America's hometown's favorite son, Vinny, and we really appreciate all that you've done, and I know Matt appreciates all the support and guidance that you've given him as well. So, again, Godspeed, and I'll be talking to you soon, and I really appreciate you calling in on today's program.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words.
Take care.
All right, Vin.
He's so right about that. It's about that can-do attitude that you were talking about. I mean, there's a sign I have on my selectman's desk that I put out every night when we have a meeting that says, "It can be done." It can be done, and I put it there. I started when I first became a selectman because I realized, that it's easy to say no. It's easy to say that something can't be done. It's harder to say it can be done because then you got to work at it and you got to figure out how to do it. But you know what? If we can instill that discipline of it can be done, and things are more positive, you get a lot more done.
Well, and that's why I think when you look at politicians, public servants who make a difference, they tend to come from the private sector.
Sure.
Because they've been problem solvers. I've always said that most politicians are failed business professionals, and they just sort of want to keep their longevity in there by just shaking it up, but nothing ever gets done.
Got the pictures off his phone.
Oh,
good,
great!
Good.
All right.
One other thing
go right
I
ahead.
just wanted to say too is about people working together and the backgrounds you come from. I actually was on the finance committee too. Steve Triffilet, the town moderator, appointed me to the finance committee in 2005. So, and I was happy doing that and learning how the budget works, $180 million budget, and how that works.
Yeah.
Because by having that experience, that helped me then become a selectman, which will then, I think, take me to being a state rep and helping that as well. So it's not just the selectman; it's also the finance committee part that I learned as well.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, we're going to get into some more of that, but I think we've got some wonderful pictures of Matt. And what do we have first, Ken? Oh, what's this one?
Well, this is at the new senior center, which I like to go to every so often. It's right across the street from Plymouth Rehab where I work. So,
okay.
And these are some of the folks that attend the senior center on a daily basis. Beautiful,
Nice.
Beautiful building.
Nice. Oh, there's the tribe.
This is the
There's
tribe.
the bride and the tribe.
Yeah.
Look at that.
These are my 6 daughters. They range from 20. Carrie is now 29. She's almost 30, and Peyton, who I'm holding, is now 7. This was taken let's see, May of 2013, right before the re-election for selectmen.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is not any more kids on the horizon?
No, that's it.
You sure, Kristen? Kristen, are you done?
That's it. Yeah.
And what this one here looks like a campaign? Or
this was at a campaign event that we had. We've been getting great turn.
Wow, look at the crowd.
This was at the kickoff event. We originally had it set for April.
I was there. I'm in the back somewhere.
Yeah, we were going to kick it off in April, but then unfortunately Officer Malone
Yes, I remember that.
Passed away
That was sad.
week, and so we canceled it and rescheduled. It was a great crowd we had. This is the groundbreaking that Vinny and I attended for the Mirbeau.
Oh,
that
nice.
is now open. Yeah.
How long did that take to get up?
Just about a year.
That's not
Just
bad.
Just about
That's
a year,
not
a little
bad.
over a year. Yeah. This is my friend Tony Provenzano.
Yeah. Was this at the Italian night?
This was.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was
this was,
spectacular.
yeah.
Because my grandfather comes from Cento.
Oh yeah.
So that was kind of a nice thing.
This is at the farmers market. We are so blessed in this town to have so many things going on. The farmers market, if you haven't been there, people really need to get out there and go to that. I was fortunate enough, the Elder Affairs Secretary was there, showcasing healthy Plymouth and healthy foods that you can eat and all that. So it's just a great farmers market.
It's
so
wonderful,
much to offer.
and I actually have a good friend of mine, Sherry Malone, who plays guitar there quite often as well. The Sheriff Joe.
I actually got a chance to tour the jail the other day, and it was very impressive. And Joe actually has officially endorsed me for state rep.
Wonderful,
so
wonderful.
I was very honored to have that, and we had this picture taken after the tour of the jail the other day.
There's another man that really, I mean, look what he's done. Between him and, even though I can give my cousin Mike Botieri, Chief, some kudos too, but the two of them work so closely together and have done just a spectacular job of really, again, sort of revitalizing Plymouth in their perspective. But then, with what you guys are all doing, the waterfront and everything else, it's just really, I mean, I tell people all over that Plymouth is really the best place to live.
It really is. And those are two guys that they don't look for the glory. They don't look for the headlines.
No.
I remember when I first was running for selectman in 2009, and then when I was fortunate enough to get in 2010, my friend Bill Hallisey was on the board at the time, and and we said, you know what, as long as we stay out of the front page of the newspaper, we're doing a good job, because it's not about the Eagles. It's not about getting in the paper. If you're not in the paper, you're doing well. I mean, and that's been my motto all along. It's not about the limelight. It can't be. It has to be about the work and what's in the best interest of everyone.
Or if you're up on Beacon Hill, the last thing you want to do is be on the front page of the Herald or the Globe, like some of our former speakers have been. Any more pictures, Ken, or is that all right?
This is something very near and dear to me and to you as well, I'm sure.
This is the Alzheimer's
This
Walk.
is the Alzheimer's Walk.
Yes.
It's something, I've been involved with this for, I think, 8 or 9 years now. It started out at the plantation, and every fall we actually have a walk and we raise money, and it started to grow too big at the plantation. I think we had 500 or 600 walkers at that point, and it got too big. This year, this was held this year, and it's the last 3 years we've had it in the waterfront. And this year we had over 2,500 walkers, and we don't have the final tally yet, but we think it's for that one walk that took from 10 to 11 over $300,000 raised. And when we are so, and I know your dad passed away from Alzheimer's, but Alzheimer's is a disease that affects everyone as well.
Oh, it does.
And we actually we're very close to coming to a cure for Alzheimer's. And that's why you're seeing more and more funding through the federal government as well.
Yes.
So there's some prediction out there. In the next 8 to 10 years, we probably will see something.
I hope
at least,
so.
if not a cure, at least something that will slow down the process or stop the process. Because as you said, people younger and younger are starting to get it now.
That, and again, once the person with Alzheimer's gets it, they don't know what's going on, but it's really the family that has to go through that. When they were showing that picture and it showed the little colored flowers, which are actually like the little windmill things. My sister still has the one that when we did the first walk on the waterfront that with my father's name on it. She still has that in her garden at the house. So it's pretty
we call it
special.
A promise garden.
The promise garden. Exactly. Exactly.
So. And I've been really fortunate the last 4 or 5 years to actually MC that event. And
awesome. That's wonderful.
It's very special to me to do that.
That's wonderful. And I think we have one of Matt in his first suit tie. I got 2 more. What's the next one? Is him in a suit and tie, I think, right?
That was at the Alzheimer's event.
That was at the Alzheimer's,
yeah. That was held this September.
Oh, what happened?
Did you lose it?
It was such a great picture. I think you blew the board over there. Well, we're gonna let me know when you're just flash me through no flash me, but make a note through the window as I continue with some questions for Matt.
That's not the one with my baseball uniform, is it?
No, it's not the one with the baseball uniform. Obviously, there's been a lot here going on in Plymouth. I know, having some friends of mine who have some businesses, small businesses up in the downtown on Main Street area. friend of mine, Anne Marie, just opened up Anna Marie's Dessert Cafe,
sure,
gelato,
sure,
espresso. And I know that, even during the winter, it's not that big of a deal to find parking, but I know, and this has been an issue that's been going on for 20 plus years, is study after study after study. Whenever you hear that, well, we're going to study it, it just means that we're going to kick the can down the road. And I know that, with you and the other selectmen who really listen to the small business people, are there any things on the horizon, or is there any breakthrough with the old courthouse, the Deeds building? I guess is going to be being converted over to condos. I know the Armory just did, which is wonderful to bring vibrancy back into the downtown area. But what about parking up on and behind Main Street? Because I think that really the key is to get people up there. They can then walk downtown to the waterfront. But people who drive down to the waterfront never make their way uptown. Yeah,
and that's sort of what's going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years with the building of the 1820 courthouse and the town hall. It's trying to connect both of those. We also have a project in place for a parking garage behind Memorial Hall, and it's a structured parking. And we just saw the design probably 2 or 3 months ago of it, but it doesn't look from the waterfront. It doesn't look like it's a parking garage because the way it's built. It has some shops underneath, a restaurant underneath.
Oh wow! Okay.
But it adds more parking, and the way it's going to go, it's going to allow for buses to come through on easy access, and it'll allow people the flow of the traffic to go uptown. So you're going to be dropped off at the waterfront, but the flow of the traffic will go uptown. I always have believed that you need almost 3 structures in the downtown. Yeah. One down Memorial Hall, one by the 1820 courthouse in that area, and I know there's still some discussions about.
Would that be up behind Burial Hill, that parking lot right there?
Yeah. So there's some discussions about the parking. That's what's going to happen up there. And I also think you need another one probably down closer to where Dunkin' Donuts is, Tedeschi's, down that way as well. Over time, these aren't cheap. I believe the parking structure at the Memorial Hall site is about $22 million, being funded from state grants, and they're looking for federal grants, and that's sort of the holdup now, trying to get that federal grant money. But as we prepare for 2020, I believe there will be more federal and state dollars coming through, because we're talking 100,000 people a week is what they're talking about could be coming through the town of Plymouth, and that's not just an economic driver for 2020, but from beyond.
Yeah. What about down at the very end of Ginny Gristmill? Because you got that parking down, and you got that cul-de-sac down there.
Somewhere in that area, exactly right.
Because then it's not going to really be a structure that's going to interfere with any other buildings or anything like that, but it's something where, because I know when my sister comes into town, she lives in Hanson, but when she comes into town, she always parks at the Gristmill because she likes to walk the walkway underneath the bridges and come out by Brewster Gardens.
My uncle and cousins, when they come to, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
They go,
And that's really experiencing what the Pilgrims experienced as well, and I think it just really brings home that whole part of that. All right, we have Matt in a suit and tie, and we wanted to present this. This is the beginning of a professional man and now a future politician.
Kristen must have sent you that one.
She did. Yeah. Your lovely bride sent this to us, and I just think that is fantastic.
Actually, she held a surprise 50th birthday party for me 3 years ago, and this was part of the cake, actually.
Yeah, we did that to my brother as well when he turned 50.
Yeah, that was my first suit with the bow tie, and I've been wearing suits ever since. You remember though, being back in Catholic schools, that's what you did. You always wore a suit and tie.
Always,
I can always remember, even in St. Bridget's in middle school, always wearing a tie and a suit coat. Always did.
And it really made you feel special. It made you feel important, and it made you realize that you were you carried yourself differently. I know when I got into the corporate world, I always wore suits. The suspenders and the tie and the pockets square and all that. Then I got into working for a startup.com company that is now Move.com that we actually took public in August of 2000 with Realtor.com and created HomeStore.com. And when I first went over to that position as Vice President of Sales and Operations, I was always in suits. The founder, a good friend of mine, Mike Mueller, comes because it's in Scottsdale, Arizona. He would come into the office with shorts, a T-shirt, and flip-flops. And he's like, you got to learn to dress down. It took me 3 months to go from out of a suit to even just khakis and a golf shirt, because I was just so used to always, being dressed up.
Let me tell you, the Plymouth Rehab, where I'm the administrator at, have been for 12 years, was taken over by a company called Athena Health Systems
Yes,
back in September of 2012. They're out of Farmington, Connecticut. So when they first went to Farmington to meet the folks there and the owner, T-shirts, shorts, flip-flops.
Yeah.
And he's the owner and the president of the company. And yeah, you don't have to wear a suit, coat, and tie. You could wear just casual. But you know what? I still don't. I still go in the nursing home. I still wear a suit and tie. Once in a while, I may not wear a tie.
Yeah.
But for the most part, and I think for me, it's the generation ahead of me always was used to that. So I think out of respect, I continue to wear the suit, coat, and the tie out of respect for them, because that's what they were used to.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I know we're running down on time here, so what I did want to do is talk a little bit about your district. Obviously, this is a big step for you. But what does your district cover? What are going to be your constituents?
All right, so it's just the town of Plymouth, and it's not even the whole town. As selectmen, we cover the whole town.
Yeah.
But for state rep, it's precincts 2 through 8, precinct 10, 12, 14, and 15.
Okay.
So precinct 1 is North Plymouth. That's covered by Tom Coulter.
Yeah, and mine, which is 13.
Right. 11 and 13 are West Plymouth, and that's covered by Tom Coulter. And then 9, way down South Plymouth, is Randy Hunt.
And Tom's another Spellmanite.
Tom's a Spellmanite too. So it's really the whole middle part of Plymouth is what this district actually covers.
Yeah.
And I'm fortunate, and I think Vinny will say the same thing. He's been fortunate the last few years just to have the town of Plymouth. Most of these state reps, like Tom Coulter, has 6 towns.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
Yeah,
That's tough
it is,
to do,
and they're good-sized towns too.
Yeah, absolutely,
because they're all former farm towns, and a lot of back roads, but a lot of country roads.
Yeah.
Okay, and who is your opponent?
Opponent is a gentleman by the name of Stephen Michael Palmer. He's a town meeting rep. He's been a town meeting rep for a couple of years, I guess. And he comes from South Boston. And,
Okay. What are the, obviously I know that there's been some polling done. Do you care to talk about any of the polls?
Well, I don't take much credence in the polls. I mean, because the polls are a random sample of people that are called at the time. I mean, they look good, but you can't go by that. You have to continue to work hard over the next 5 or 6 days. And we're actually rallying our volunteers together tomorrow night to kind of talk about the next 4 or 5 days, what we need done. It's still trying to get out that vote, because you just never know. You never know. So I think you just have to work hard right till the end.
What would be like 2 or 3 of things that you would say separate you from Stephen Palmer? Well,
I think, as Vinny alluded to, I've been involved in the town, the finance committee, the council and aging board. I was the chairman of the board of directors there. Being a selectman the last 4 years, being a small business owner. I also a co-owner of Crayon College Child Daycare Center. We've owned that for 10 years now. Being in healthcare. I think that separates me from him very distinctly by having that background. And I have a proven record of working with everybody. I think I proved that, particularly being the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, how I've been able to bring people together from all walks to kind of resolve issues, whether it's a trash issue, whether it's the 1820 courthouse issue. Been able to do that, and been able to do that with dignity and respect. We developed some guiding principles early on when I became chair to ensure that you set a foundation of how you can set up meetings. And if you have the 9 guiding principles intact and everyone follows them, then you're able to more openly communicate with one another and then get things done. But if there's stonewalling going on and there's disrespect and people aren't listening, you'll never get anything done. So we had to create a foundation of those guiding principles first, which one of the biggest things is respecting one another, hearing one another, and then come up with a decision. And I'm proud of this Board of Selectmen that we've been able to do this over the last few years, where we can agree to disagree, but once a final decision is made, we all go for it, and we all back it fully.
We should send those rules down to Washington,
D.C.
Yeah,
I've said this a lot over the last 4 years. Like, we in Plymouth have been able to figure out what Washington has not been able to figure out. And I hope in Washington that there are some changes. Because I don't know how else you wake up people like that on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah,
I don't know how you wake them up to say, look, you should be working for the people. But here in Plymouth, we've been able, on a local level and on a state level, we've been able to figure out in Plymouth on how to do it.
Well, I think you said it. you got to take the ego out of it. You're not concerned about if you're on the front page of the newspaper, and in Washington, they vie to be on the front cover of the newspaper.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost to the point where it's very sickening because nothing's getting done, and our country is really in a bad way.
Right.
Okay, we've got a few minutes left. I'm going to leave you a minute or two at the end to sort of talk to the people in your districts and ask them for your vote. But let's talk a little bit about the ballot initiatives that we have coming up. Obviously, the first one is the repeal of the gas tax, and we really had quite a opposite look last night in the debate, where we've got the Attorney General who does not want to appeal it. Basically letting this tax continue to increase every year without people being accountable, the politicians being accountable to either vote yes or no on it. And then we got Charlie Baker on the other side who says, well, our form of democracy is all about trying to fix the hard things, the hard problems, and that you do need to be accountable, and that's what our republic and a democracy is all about. But I know that you're obviously very schooled on all of these, so
I agree with Charlie Baker on that. You can't. You have to be accountable for your vote, so you just can't say automatically it's going to go up. Every year. You just can't do that. No. And it's not about the 3 cents that it went up to. I mean, that's in place, so it's going to be still the 24 cents. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that because we do have to repair our roads and bridges, and that's a great funding source. And nobody's saying not to increase the gas tax. It's just let's vote on it every year. Let's get people's input. Let's listen to what people have to say, and let's debate it, and then let's decide what we need to do, but not automatically do it every year.
And I think what Charlie's also seeing is the fact that in a one-party rule, which is what's happening up on Beacon Hill, it's easy for them to have that country club atmosphere and just sit back.
Right. And that's what needs to change. That's the balance you actually need when you have one-party rules. To have that sort of balance there.
So for people who do not want the automatic tax to go through, they're to vote?
Yes.
Yes. All right, great. The other one is the increase in the bottle bill. Obviously, there's some controversy to that too. What are your feelings?
Real quickly on that one, I'm going to vote no on that one. I think that bottle bill was good 30 years ago, but recycling has come a long way. People, 90% of the population has a way to recycle. We just need to get ways for more people to recycle, like we've done in Plymouth.
Okay, and again, everybody remember next Tuesday, November 4th. Is a very important date. If you don't have it in your calendars, put it in there right now as you're listening to us or over the next couple days. But this election will determine the lives of all of us for the next 3, 5, 8, 9 years. So let's make sure that we get out there and vote. It's very, very important. It's your civic duty to get out there and vote, because if you don't vote, don't complain. Matt, you got 30 seconds. I'm sorry, we're running. You got 30 seconds for Matt?
Just get out, like Andrew said, just get out and vote. Appreciate your support on Tuesday, November 4th, and really would like your vote, but please get out and vote.
Great, Matt.
Pleasure,
Andrew, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you. Good luck to you next Tuesday. You and Vinny as well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. This was Talk of the Town, number 300. As I run through all my notes here, 361. Again, I want to thank all of our underwriters, and also Karen Bukes will be back here in the seat in a couple weeks. I want to thank Ken, who was on the board today, did a fantastic job there, and also Dustin for finally getting those pictures downloaded for us. Again, my name's Andrew Botieri. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and again, hopefully we'll see you on 362, which is next Wednesday. God bless everybody. Take care.